is cool.
Yeah, a little distortion on it.
Yeah. We'll make it
little funky.
Yeah.
We'll make it funky.
We should just do like doom metal voices the whole time.
The whole time. That'd be super fun. Yeah. So I guess I don't know. Just to start off a conversation, how did you guys? Did you just stumble into mushrooms? Was it by accident?
Yes and no.
Did you guys meet beforehand? Or
yeah, well, we met when we were like, 12?
Yeah.
12 years old. We've been going to the same
For a long
schools,
time.
yeah.
You guys been dating that long?
No,
We've been dating for about 10 years.
Okay.
So yeah, almost that long. Since we were 18, we're 28 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we were in the culinary industry before we got into the mushroom thing.
Mm-hmm.
I went to culinary school in Thailand, in Bangkok, Thailand.
Yeah.
And when I was out there, I was just messing with some really cool mushrooms that I had never seen before. And I was like, holy shit, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, I never really thought about how they're grown or anything like that. I've never really even, thought about looking it up.
Yeah.
And then a couple years down the road, Soraya suggests like maybe we should try to grow some mushrooms in the backyard. She said,
or like under the kitchen table or something. I was looking at like grow kits or like, the at-home like straw pasteurization like methods and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, we can grow them on logs. How long does that take? And she said about a year. I said, okay, fuck that. Like I have the attention span of like a squirrel, so that's not going to work.
Don't have a year.
Yeah. We didn't really even look into the bag thing yet.
No, I mean, we didn't really even know that existed.
What year was this? This is like
2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
This was like maybe 5 years ago.
Oh,
and then when we were in Peru, we met a dude who foraged morels for a living. 3 months out of the year, he made his money for the rest of the year, and the rest of the year he was traveling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started researching it then, and then we came up with a little business plan and started reaching out to some chefs in Orlando. Moved into a little house and started using pasteurized straw, just growing oysters. Started with pink oysters. Our first maybe 20 crops were totally sold before they were even harvested. So we're like, okay, this is super cool. Then we started talking to Josh, and he started hooking us up with some good oyster blocks and stuff like that. And
how'd you hook up with Josh? Just by proximity or
social media?
Social media.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Because I reached out to TR.
Yep.
And he sent me to Andrew Collier-Reed.
Oh yeah.
Who sent me to Josh because Josh had recently done a consultation with Andrew.
Okay,
cool.
From
Massey. Yeah.
And it's such a funny world, man, because I have to like think back to like when we were starting with this stuff. Hold on one sec. Stupid phone. I like constantly remind myself that there were nobody was doing what we're doing at all. And like most farms like us, we started Sport-A-Store. Everybody has that concept, but it's amazing in the background how many people had the same idea to just like run with blocks or run with spawn or run with whatever, and like Andrew had pointed out the other day, like we're now finally being able to specialize and work together, which I can say it a million times, but it sounds cool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you guys started? 15 years ago or something?
Oh yeah, we started I started around 2010 in Arizona. My late wife and I had come up to like Portland, Maine from school. We went to art school together, and just like read about mushrooms, and obviously both had a fair amount of exposure to psychedelics, but at the same time you don't really know how many varieties are out there. In 2010 you couldn't find anything but a fucking shiitake and yeah. So that was then. We sold everything we owned and just traveled, worked on farms, hitchhiked from here to there and everywhere in between, and ran into a couple out in Arizona that had enough money from like the pharma world. They just wanted to stop doing that and get out of the valley and farm. So they had cash, and we just were hippies. So we're like, yeah, we'll build it for you. And back then it was just Roger Rabbit and the Shroomery, So we sort of built everything according to that, information, and then came back here, and I was done with mushrooms by then, and it's like a year later, and then I met Christopher and his wife before we left to go to Arizona, because just through a letterpress world, because she owns a letterpress shop, and they team up and do a lot of that stuff together. And he was just like, "You're not done." So we just kept going.
Well, good thing you did. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, there's such an explosion, there's no telling why this took off when it did,
Yeah, there's never been a better time to be working in the restaurant or the mushroom industry, huh?
Yeah, no, it really hasn't, man. And you have so many options, and just the level of cultivatable species has gone through the fucking roof,
Yeah.
in terms of food.
Partly due to some of the work you guys are doing, correct?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I keep bringing that factoid up and I sound like an egotistical douchebag, but
I'll bring it up for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, but it's funny. Like I think about the chestnut mushroom, like Foliota adiposa, that didn't exist like aside from a few growers, and the only one in New England that was doing it was New Hampshire Mushroom Company. And I just snagged a box, out of Rosemont where I was working at the time and cloned it. And then CMGN started up and I just gave it to everybody. And that was like, okay, now everybody does this,
Yeah, now it's like one of the 4 most popular cultivatable species.
Yeah, that one was awesome when we were growing it. We loved it.
People complain about that mushroom, but we loved it.
Complaining about growing it or eating it?
About fruiting it.
Yep.
Yeah. But we loved it. As soon as we figured out this, cut deep into the substrate and let it fruit from within. Yeah, we were getting amazing yields off of it. Great shelf life, even if you harvest it on time.
Oh, for sure.
Such a tasty mushroom. Beautiful. Looks like little sexy little pretzels.
Hamburger buns.
Hamburger buns.
Yeah, I know there's some people who have allergies to them too, which has blown my mind. Oh man, I'm trying to think of it's Brian Simpson and his wife, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I apologize, but they had a farm in Alabama, and both of them got the chestnut culture from me, and both of them were like deathly allergic to it.
Oh, so they thought you poisoned them?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, they're like, fuck, what a dick. This is when we were trying to take out one another. No, but it was like a cause for concern because like as we were putting more and more weird varieties on the market, people worried about what their chefs were going to think when somebody got sick, and couldn't blame it on oysters that weren't in the restaurant.
Yeah, we got kind of scared about that for a second because we sold some yellow oysters to a restaurant called Hunger Street in Orlando, and one of the chefs ate it and he got sick, and he had that rare allergy to yellow oyster mushrooms. He's like, man, I can't put these on the menu. I'm like, you can put them on the menu as long as you don't eat it.
Right. Did he?
No.
He
didn't. He didn't. And I don't blame him either,
Well, chefs run that world, and if you scare a chef, you're done with that client altogether.
For sure. Especially with something as as there's a lot of people that have like kind of like a fungophobia where it's like, oh, it's a weird fungus. Like, you don't know. It's like, is it safe to eat? We got that question all the time. And it's like, you need to be able to be like, this product is like super safe and give them that like peace of mind that you're not going to like poison their clients.
Yeah, for sure.
But in reality, you're just as likely to be allergic to parsley.
Yeah, exactly.
Oyster mushrooms.
And develop it too. Like those allergies are totally developed over time and they go away. I haven't heard of anybody being allergic to the chestnut who hasn't, but it hasn't been around that long, So who knows? Eventually it could get to that point where people get over their allergies of mushrooms, but it's already weird enough to have an allergy to a specific mushroom.
Yeah, although if I ate some chestnut mushrooms and it didn't go well for me, I would probably be pretty hesitant to try it again and figure out if that allergy subsided. Yeah.
It's totally understandable. Yeah. Yeah, I've never had any allergic reactions to mushrooms other than, I don't know, ones that make you ill intentionally.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I got over that like weird thing that Dennis from New Hampshire Mushroom Company, who was like a partner there, he was trying like 5 different new species a year, wild ones. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. He's like, I just put them on my lips and see what happens. I'm like, all right. But I've never been.
Don't swallow kind of thing.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, tons of like foragers who go out on tours like to freak people out by biting into death caps, and it's not my shtick, man.
Yeah.
No.
Like, here's a piece of bread.
I brought a granola bar for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Yeah. Well, I think as things go on and more people develop more and more cool strains, like the black oyster thing, it's kind of it's invigorating to find a new one and just be like, yes.
And where did that one come from? Because I know TR was talking about that one a lot for a while, and then it just kind of exploded, and every small scale grower had it.
Yeah, it was so Hokuto Kanoko was like I'm pretty sure they're like the breeders of it per se, and I don't know if it came from their factories and sort of labs overseas, or if it was developed where they have their spot in California. But that's clearly where it came from. And for me and Cap and Stem, we got it through Far West Fungi. There's a dude out there named Brooks, Brooks. So Brooks gave it to us like before anybody knew what it was, and we just had it, and we didn't do anything with it because it was just like black oyster. We didn't really know.
Didn't sound special until you fruited it out.
Yeah, nobody even knew what it was doing, and like Hokuto, they barely advertise. They just stuff shows up on a shelf, and that's sort of like, Far East advertising with like animation and stuff just doesn't hit US minds. No. It's like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. You're like, the fuck, I want the one with the action version, Yeah. So until like people see it in real life, they can't, equate what it is. So it came from Brooks, and then TR snagged it, and then allegedly, and he can tell me otherwise, but I believe he didn't name it Black Pearl. I think it was somebody else that named it that. Could have been Brooks. And then it took off as that, but we refused, so we just call it Black Oyster because fuck it. So.
I like Black Pearl. I like Shimafuri as well. That's cool.
Yeah. Which Shimafuri is just like Shimafuri, whatever the full name of that mushroom is just
Shimafuri haritake.
Yeah, it's like velvet oyster, and it literally just means Pleurotus ostriatus. People are like, it's a hybrid. I'm like, I don't think it is. I think it's just like, it might be a hybrid, but it's still an oyster.
Because it was supposed to be a hybrid of king and blue. Correct.
That's what everybody
were saying.
Thought. Yeah.
That's what it like looks like too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and it definitely tastes different than a king for sure. And it's got a slightly softer texture, but like at the same time, it's a killer mushroom. It's a fun one to grow, and the colder it gets, the better it gets. But there's been plenty of people who've had issues with it for sure.
Yeah,
we were doing pretty solid with it when we were growing it. It didn't really give us any problems. Even down in Florida, we're generally like any of the like the kings and stuff were giving us a lot of issues just because they do like that colder weather.
Yeah.
Although I guarantee we had the coldest fruiting chambers in Florida. We totally over-designed those
like
chambers.
11 tons of AC.
Yeah.
That's super important though. People like don't, and then it's 80 degrees in their fruit room, and they're like,
yeah, because we were talking to Josh, and we're like, okay, what's the number one thing that you just like kind of didn't consider when building your last fruiting chamber? He just said temperature.
Yeah, it's everything.
Just get what you need and then buy double that.
Yeah.
Have an ante room to cool down your air before it goes in. Whatever you got to do, just make it cold as hell in there.
Yeah, I think we spent probably a month trying to figure out like the configuration of the AC chamber and how like the main thing was going to sit outside the warehouse, and then the tubing and the pumping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not really. We're not those kind of people. So, we're not like engineers or anything like that. So.
Not at all. Like we went from 10 years of restaurant work into like mushrooms. We're like, whoa, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, like a lot of people do that though.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part is most people like approach us from a business level, or whether it's a loan officer or whoever it is, right? And they're like, you went to school for this. I'm like, no, I went to fucking art school. I painted naked people for 4 straight years and then fell into mushrooms by accident. And they can't rationalize it because they went to school to do what they wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of us are just, they totally stumbled upon this.
Well, I mean, what would be the path if you decided you wanted to go to school for mushrooms? What would be the best path? You start with like a mushroom mountain course and then
go to the woods. Yeah, I have no idea. You know, I mean, this is an interesting sort of platform for conversating now because, Brian Callow from What the Fungus is offering his sort of internships, and what, he doesn't offer there, for his own benefit and time, management, we end up having to consult with farms for, just tell them how we would do it, And we figured out that sort of level of offering, over 10 years now of like telling people what exactly to do, the fruit, but as well as the cultivation side of spawn and substrate and really going down those avenues too. Is people just want to backwards integrate so bad and they really want to fuck it up. It's within like the nature of people who are into it that they just want to start from the beginning.
We definitely took the opposite approach. We're just like, okay, let's master fruiting.
Yeah.
Because if we start with a culture.
Yeah.
You know, you fuck up the first thing and then you nail that, and then you go to the second thing and you fuck up the second thing, and then you have to start over again. It's like, just start from fruiting, master fruiting.
Yeah.
And then start knocking your own blocks, and then start making your own spawn, and then start fucking with cultures.
That's key, man. I mean, so many people really don't. They didn't take those steps before we could offer them blocks. And before us, it was just go knock on KSS's door and really beg them for, blocks. Just because there's no other option, And it was super hard to source raw materials like back then too. I remember it took us not only did it take us months to source just red oak sawdust at the same time, it was trying to find a consistent source for it and then convince MAFCA, our certifier, that oak stands are not soybean fields. You can't really certify oak stand organic.
Yeah.
It's an absurd thought, So there's been so many just evolutionary steps in cultivation, which I don't know. How people would start it now blows my mind, because people do just know we're out there. And it's funny to have somebody call and be like, I found you on Shroomery, or I heard Captain Stem mentioned on there, and you're like, Jesus, I didn't know Shroomery's still going. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Blue light, Airwood.
yeah, exactly. Whatever keeps those avenues up is interesting to me.
Yeah.
But
we should look into that more. We should start getting back on those forums.
Yeah, I haven't been on any of those forums
for shits and giggles.
Just feed it full of disinformation. Just
people growing cubes on tube socks.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
Oh man, I know some of the best things on there are not it's not the content, but it's those little fucking gifs of Hulk Hogan, shaking and screaming and shit. This is so awesome. That's half the reason I would go on the Shroomery, just finding those dumb images of Mario.
Or people's little sign-offs or
Yeah. The little stickers and shit they put on there. You're this is fantastic. But I think that's, it's come so far from Roger Rabbit era. It's astounding. It really is, man. I don't know if you guys even know who that is.
I don't know.
This is fucking crazy. Okay, so there's a guy named I'm gonna fucking butcher.
That was
his
his username, Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
right?
It was on Shroomery.
Is that who came up with PF Tech and stuff?
He wasn't PF Tech, no, but he was basically the first person to advocate for atmospheric steaming. So his name was Keith, I think. I forget his full name, but his wife died of cancer, and I think he just went towards cannabis and got out of it altogether. But he basically was running the cool stuff in the Shroomery for a long time. And he developed this barrel system with these welded grates that we just literally copied out in Arizona, 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And then just is you just inject it with steam, in X amount of time. And that was the first time anybody here had even really gone down the avenue of pasteurization or ultra pasteurization or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Super pasteurization.
Yeah, just trying to kill everything aside from really hard to kill bacteria. So but that's Roger Rabbit. So that's my connection to it. But clearly the people who are coming up shorter just have no idea of that.
No idea.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I feel like a veteran of the weird mushroom growing world, but
I think the most helpful thing to us when we were getting into it was all of the mushroom growers Facebook groups and stuff, and being able to reach out to people through there, and it was just at least a kind of served as a weird roadmap almost, just this guy's doing this and this is who this is, and all of that kind of helped it fall into place.
Yeah. Who were we watching first when we started out? I know we watched a lot of Eric Meyer's videos.
A lot of his videos.
He was doing some farm tours with people shit, I forget that guy's name. Yeah, he was just doing tours of other people's farms and showing his own and stuff.
Yep.
We watched a lot of TR's videos and some of Mossy Creek's as well.
Yeah.
So that was helpful for sure.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because all those cats didn't really exist on the social media world yet, and we started to get into it. So it's amazing how that's propelled forward. And I know Maine Mushroom Company brings up, I don't know the guy's name, but it's Southwest Mushrooms.
Oh yeah, I don't know his name either.
But they're great quality videos. Yeah, it's really informative.
Yeah, definitely jealous of that quality.
Yeah. What kind of GoPro you got, man?
Shit, that guy looks so cool right now.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got big ass hair. He's a showman. Yeah, without trying at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sort of brings it from that step back into cannabis world, by growing in those grow tents and stuff, and and showing that you can really grow in like such a wide variety of platforms.
Yeah. Our first fruiting chamber was 8x4. It was like one of those Vizio, basically a cannabis tent.
Yeah.
And, oh man, that got all cooped up with lots of CO2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was not fun.
It was definitely harder to like try to grow in that smaller space than it was in a larger one.
And we tore down the tent and just started openly fruiting in our garage. and they just did way better. Way better. Sometimes we would put a humidifier up in the garage just openly,
It's also Florida. So
don't tell our landlord.
It feels like you're swimming out there anyways.
This is when we were in the rental house. It was a 700 square foot house, including the garage.
Yeah.
And the entire garage and the little workshop was all mushroom farm.
That's awesome.
So half of our house was mushrooms. And
do you have any problems with them, like growing in the walls or getting weird?
No, it was a concrete block house.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's Florida, right?
Yeah.
I always forget about it. No basements and like has to withstand hurricanes and moisture.
Yeah. And it was an old house. It was from the 50s too.
That's wild. So. Yeah, I remember Deanna and Chris that were Detroit Mushroom Company. I don't know if they're still around or they slowed down kind of because of COVID. They were getting blocks from us for a while, and their first place in Detroit was just like a burnt out old fucking apartment building that they bought for $50,000, because Detroit's Detroit and nobody wants to be there.
I figured that would happen with Detroit once it's kind of lit on fire.
Yeah.
I figured as soon as the fire went out, there would be urban farms everywhere, coffee shops on every street corner. And,
it's like trying to force, like some
Renaissance.
Kind of like when they burn the forest for new growth.
Yeah. I mean, it's like blueberry barons up here, that's what they do. It's wild to see, but you kind of got to do it to a city eventually. So, Yeah. So in terms of nearby naturals, what do you guys have, like a vision at all for it? Or is it mostly just like really trying to focus on the business side of it? Do you have any like initial obsession that you're still sticking with?
Well, I can't answer for Soraya, but for me, I guess the goal is to teach as many people how to fruit mushrooms at home as possible. And, obviously we like return customers and developing relationships, but, we like new customers, people who have never even heard of these mushrooms, and they've never seen how they grow. They don't know what pins are,
Right.
They don't know anything about fruiting conditions, and we're actually teaching them something and, giving them something to get stoked about.
Yep.
So far we've taught, over 25,000 people how to grow mushrooms, which is really exciting, and it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling as hell.
It's really like about getting people excited about growing food and getting people more connected to like where their food comes from, because that's really important to us, just coming from the restaurant industry and just like realizing that there's so many, there's such a lack of connection between like the people who grow the food and like all of that like kind of thing that like people just miss. Like there's like the smaller family farms are disappearing and things like that. So it's like if you get people interested in growing and like even like all like the climate, considering the climate, that's like all the climate issues that are going on right now, just getting them growing small amounts of their own stuff just is infinitely helpful.
And the more these people get turned on to these types of mushrooms, the more they're going to seek out their local farms at farmers markets.
For sure.
And eventually we'll have some sort of form on our website, because we're developing a pretty large footprint at this point. So eventually we'll have something on the website that will direct people to their local farms so they can pick up the mushrooms if they don't feel like fruiting them themselves.
That's super rad.
Which I think will be great.
There's a huge amount of that sort of I don't know the proper terminology for it, but like open source socialistic mapping,
cooperation, I guess.
Without it sounding like a militant thing. But it's interesting because we've tried so hard to sort of push that envelope of like being open with what we do and how we do it, and really trying to share with farms, who actually ask, but half the ticket is just asking, not enough people, especially in this world. We're pretty like a podcast for mushroom farmers is weird because we don't want to fucking talk anyways. So it's mostly just trying to like, push the conversation or give somebody something to listen to, because half of us are just in, our sort of day-to-day rigmarole in this business, just listening to podcasts anyways.
Or half of them have a headache from being in the incubation area too long or something.
Oh man. I know, I tell that story everywhere, and like half the people laugh, but I swear to God, we had no ventilation at our Westbrook facility whatsoever. We just had a fucking AC that was like undersized, and my late wife and my best friend, Mike Vance, at the time were both working for me, and they both convinced themselves that there was a mycelium man within the warehouse, and it was just fucking CO2, you know, because you'd walk from one end to the other for like a wrench and come back with a hamburger, but you didn't leave. You had no idea where the hamburger came from. And so CO2 is fucked.
It's like when you're working in a restaurant and you walk into the walk-in to grab celery, and then you come out with
blank.
Yeah, there's so many of those like equivalents between different service kind of industries and hyper production worlds, you know. It's not made for humans.
Yeah,
it's true.
We're trying to work around it though.
Mycelium man.
Yeah. I think Mike for that. I think Mike was like the dude who said it, and then he would like purposely take naps in there, like it was some trip room. I was like, "There's no drugs involved here." He's like, "Nah, I'm just falling asleep and feeling real fucked up." I was like, "That's wild." Cool.
You should write a comic book, Mycelium Man.
Yeah, he writes comic books, right?
Oh, he does?
He makes them.
Yeah.
He's got some killer art, man. He just did, speaking of podcasts, like a t-shirt design for Last Podcast on the Left. So he's getting out there. He's done some crazy shit. There's like a sailor orgy image that I have somewhere that he's unreal. I'm gonna pull this out.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Oh, dude, it's so good. This is like his level of, chaos. I was hanging in my upstairs bathroom.
That's so fun.
Super cool.
At my last house, people would just go up there and take an hour shit and stare at that. Yes.
Like these little dangling feet in the back.
Yeah, the more you look at that, there's like a dude hanging. There's like people under the bed.
These even the little dogs orgy. Doing it.
Yeah. Straight up pornographic pirate awesomeness.
Yeah, for those of you at home, we are looking at cartoon porn.
That's all it is. No, one of the cool things that I had the pleasure of talking to had this couple of women from Columbia University. We're doing like a sustainability report. This is just yesterday. It was a brief conversation, but they're working with Smallhold. Speaking of them, and trying to sort of disseminate what the major sort of advantages are for these like micro fruiting farms and in scenarios where you're focused on like small fruiting, which can definitely get you in trouble. Like you said, if you're trying to fruit like in a shotgun tub versus just your garage, you're going to get two drastically different things. So you can over control an environment, and they've gone to that extent of over engineering these like spacey containers, but they work well
and they look really cool.
They're gnarly looking.
The concept is on point.
Yeah,
it's just really, really cool. That's something we would like to do in Orlando if possible.
Well, that's what I keep telling them too. I was like, it's hard to sort of understand the people's like financial willingness, but people are willing to pay 10 grand for a unit like that because you're like, this is fucking cool, and you can trial anything in it, you know. And
Smallhold, we will help you start this in Orlando. If
you'd like. Yeah. And they're distributing in Texas. They have a farm built out there. They're starting to grow, and my like initial first thought about them was they're just what are they doing? Like I couldn't figure it out, and they're just selling fresh mushrooms. They're just choosing to do it in a very visible way, and it took somebody with money and time to do it.
Yeah. And that's like the cool thing about this industry too, is that there's like so many little niches that you can just like fit yourself into or create, or like it almost just seems like there's just like an endless amount to like explore and play in it still.
Yeah. Oh, it totally is, man. It's I think it's exciting from like the world of packaging materials and whatever, leather, like it's pretty far out.
Yeah.
So what was y'all's goal when you like really started this?
I think our initial goal was just to sell mushrooms, like just frankly to figure it out. And it's the same obsession that everybody gets into, where you just want to figure out more and more and more. And this is like before Masters Mix Revelations, before any of this stuff was just like, why are our blocks 1 will fruit great and 10 will do terrible? And you couldn't figure it out, and you didn't realize that all the ramifications came from like the design of your facility and airflow and all of these things and factors that fit into it. So our goal was very simple. It was just that. And then the minute we switched over to the block specific production, it really became to like be about innovation and pushing farms forward into environments where they're not spending so much money on R&D and time that they just don't understand, how they're not making money, and that's where the block thing really worked. We were just like, okay, if we supply people with blocks, they'll either make it or fail.
Right.
And they just kept making it and making it work. And that was the weirdest part.
You're saving them from falling into these rabbit holes that
Yeah. And it's not like a savior mentality. It's just like, we wasted that money. Don't waste that money.
Yeah.
There's no need.
Because it's not only wasted money, it's just like wasted resources as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And truthfully, it was a huge ego push for like the farms of 2010 forward to probably your entrance into this thing to be able to say, I don't make my own substrate and that's okay. It was like a real fucking push for some people. They were like, man, I can't do that. I would never not make my own spawn, my own cultures. And you're like, why not? Like, just outsource it like the rest of the fucking world, And that doesn't make it any less sustainable. It's actually created, like you guys are seeing, these weird patterns and formations of specializations within this industry. And then people are just working with one another,
Yeah.
And it's really, that's been cool to watch.
It has been. Like it seems like everybody in this community is like pretty encouraging to each other. And
it's definitely not a cutthroat industry where people are trying to mess with each other and stuff. Like when we stopped growing a couple months ago, when we stopped fruiting, we gave a couple of our restaurant clients to a super nearby mushroom farm. They wanted mushrooms, and we know somebody that has them. Like, why not share the info? And I feel like that's how the whole industry is.
It really is, man.
Or at least the people we've met.
Yeah. I think there's different levels to it, and like business things can get weird. But that's when we first separated from Blocks and came up to this facility. It was like us, North Spore, Mousum, and New Hampshire Mushroom Company. And we just chose to go in our different directions at that moment in time, you know, and it just worked, So it's a hard thing to sort of to like say we had a plan from the beginning, but we didn't at all, but now we do.
Pretty much the only plan is just make mushroom.
Yeah.
Make mushroom, get money.
Exactly. Yeah. Try new strains. Yeah. So I don't know. We keep going with it, but yeah. What is your guys' background besides this in the service industry? Did you grow up doing any sort of foraging or hunting or anything?
Not really. I grew up like kind of like on a small farmish thing. We had our own little garden and we had some like horses and cows and stuff.
Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
Florida loves guns. I mean, Maine is the south of the north, so everybody up here is obsessed with guns. It is, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
But I grew up, in a suburb.
Yeah.
Never really foraged or anything like that. Pretty much, we got into mushrooms through Culinary, and that's that's it.
Yep.
It was just like a that endless like hunt for weird ingredients, like
and Florida's it was just a mushroom wasteland. There's just nothing except for Monterey, which is buttons. They do sell oysters, but you don't get to them until they're 5 days old.
They're done. Yeah, I think that's the funny part. There's still a lot of places out there that are wastelands for mushrooms, like complete wastelands, and
definitely a lot of opportunity out there.
It's unreal. There's so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Like most people in Florida like haven't seen any of even just like the different colored oysters or the lion's mane or like coral tooth. They're just like, oh my god, what is that? Like you put it in an aquarium or something?
Yeah. It is. It's spacey and strange, man.
Yeah, it's fun seeing those reactions though.
Yeah, that's the level that has to keep you in it when you're like in this world of just, if you're not fruiting mushrooms, you have to find a way to like find that same excitement and interact with those farms on some level,
Yeah, definitely.
One of the nicest things has been having like Maine Mushroom Company up here, just probably like you guys have Josh in that regard. So you can see the facet and not like lose touch with reality. Just delete comments or whatever.
You're like, oh, cool. We don't just sell dirt.
Yeah, right. Because it turns into that, and it was like, I think we can ponder it and like get bummed out about it or sell it as such and be like, look, we're carrying the overhead. So you guys are doing this as a sales pitch thing. But at the same time, no, you definitely get bummed out. You build tiny fruiters just to keep in it. So yeah. Well, like on a personal level, are you guys doing anything else that isn't doing anything with mushrooms?
Currently, well, we did just get some like roller skates, but we haven't really had much time for anything else.
I think I sprained my wrist. But it's great.
Yeah,
it's really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's hard to find time to do other shit when you're in a business, but
it is.
Gotta find something.
I mean, a lot of our work is, 99% of our work is remote now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we still don't have a lot of time.
Happened within the last month, though. We're still getting used to like not being at the farm 7 days a week. So that's been
and it's a little depressing as well because, you know, as you were saying, like seeing mushrooms grow is like, that's the thing, you know.
It gives you that energy.
My babies.
Although we do get, you know, quite literally hundreds of emails a day of people sending us photos of their successful kids.
Living vicariously.
Which is great. And especially if they take time lapses. It's just like, that's awesome.
I would love that.
So,
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Do you see that there's more and more people doing that sort of, we have the social media revelation and we have this cool new organism. Are there more people that are like, I'm growing these specifically to create content just because it's cool?
Oh, yeah.
You see that a lot?
Definitely.
Yeah. We have a lot of people, a lot of influencers, if you will, that reach out to us, you know, looking for free kits.
Yeah.
So that they can post the content on their page. You know, whether it's somebody who specializes in, you know, ancient Chinese medicine and they want to grow some reishi for a video or something.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We'll send you a kit tomorrow.
Just to get it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I want to know those recipes.
Yeah.
I want to use them.
It's
cool.
And this is the world of like trying to share that content creation too. You know, there's plenty of people who aren't doing it, which is why I think the majority of people who are in the mushroom industry know Nearby Naturals just because of obviously your heavy amount of like advertising, but at the same time because the content isn't bullshit, you know, and it's not like complicated. You're not like what's happening.
Yeah, we don't talk too much about cultivation. It's just really easy to digest. Our advertisements and content is just like really straightforward and just goofy. You know, we spell things wrong. You know, we're just it's a reflection of us. Yeah, and not like the product. You know?
It has to be.
We have fun with it for sure.
Yeah. There's so many businesses who cop to like, it doesn't matter if you're in the mushroom industry or not, who just, they're like, this is what we got to do because this is what people want.
Yes. Must write ad copy.
There's like no personality behind it.
No. So even like a funny fucking hashtag makes my day just because it's like, that's hilarious. Eat my mushroom is like the greatest thing ever. I don't know who started that.
I haven't seen that one. That was really funny.
I feel like Amy, speaking of her, she said she was going to steal it and use it, to which she might. I don't know. Like I try so hard not to look on social media all the time. It's difficult. It's a disease.
Lucky you. It's like first thing when I wake up in the morning, I roll over and look at Instagram comments.
Yeah, have you ever stopped yourself and just been like, I think I'll drink coffee first? Or no?
Not yet. Maybe tomorrow.
Do you? Or you just like, do you stay out of it?
Oh no, I like try to totally stay out of it. We kind of made like a deal, so I do most of like the answering customer service emails, like you know, teaching people how to grow their kits, and then he handles the social media comments. So split it up so we don't go nuts.
Right. That's a lot to deal with. It's crazy amounts.
I mean, half of the job is, or half of what I do is just telling people that we don't supply any psychedelic growing supplies.
You can say it again so they'll hear it.
Yeah. By the way, we don't do that.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. There it is.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, a lot of people will comment and say like, because I'll say, no, that's technically illegal. And we can't do that because we like our company and what we do for a living. They say, well, actually, it's legal for a microscope. I'm like, no, those are the spores. We're talking about selling mycelium here.
Right.
And then they're like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, oh, I thought you knew everything.
That's the thing that this industry has promoted, has been that. And that's what I've noticed. And it's not to talk trash on too many people, but there is a large amount of people who just want to fucking fight. And you're just like, I don't care. Like, you already know the answers. Just keep going with it.
I'll find myself getting kind of worked up over some stupid comments in the Mushroom Growers Facebook group and stuff like that. I'm like, what am I doing?
Well, and it's like 150,000 people on that group, you know, and you're like,
I like that group because there's a lot of people who are genuinely just excited to be getting into a new hobby. And you have the information that they want.
For sure.
It's just somebody asks for advice and then you give them legit information and then 30 other people give them the worst advice that you've ever seen. And they don't know who to trust. So,
well, that's partially this podcast, right? This is like trying to disseminate, you know, people who are the noobs, so to speak, people who just have done it, you know, and it's not to say that you can't figure it out. It's just like, there is no Bible. There's no way to go about like figuring this stuff out.
And that's a great thing that there's no be all end all Bible. It just makes it way more fun.
Yeah, for sure. And it also just like changes depending on where you are in the country. Like, we're not going to grow mushrooms the same way you are. Like, it just doesn't really translate that literally.
No, like quite seriously, like temperate, geography, whatever, pH, soil, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. There's so many things that attribute to
so many variables.
Same strains growing different one state to another.
We were talking about that on the way up here. We were saying, we don't even know what it's like to have to warm a fruiting chamber.
Yeah.
Just cool it.
Yeah, we put so much effort into cooling systems that warming a fruiting chamber.
Well, that's humidity. We're like, we almost have to take some out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Florida's an interesting spot that way. So I feel like if enough farms in those regions just worry about cooling, then you're fine, And it's really interesting having those conversations on a consultation level with individuals coming to us saying, how do I do this? And trying to explain a fruit room is a lung and trying to break it down psychologically so that they get what it's supposed to do. And it's not a weed grow, can't really do the same thing.
It's not even really like a normal plant grow where it's okay, you turn on the lights for this and whatever, you kind of have to look at them and just watch them and see what they adjust as you go.
And humidistats are bullshit, so don't buy one.
Actually, Josh talked us out of using a humidistat, and that was maybe halfway through growing in that warehouse, it's so liberating.
Oh my god,
because we had it hooked up so we could view it remotely on our iPhones, and it was just driving us crazy. It would be 3 a.m. and I'm like, only 55% humidity in chamber 2. Baby, I gotta go to the farm. She's like, Sam, sit the fuck down. You're not going anywhere.
Oh yeah. Just calm down. My late wife there and Mike and I were working on St. Patrick's Day. It was like a Sunday or some shit, and we decided to eat a bunch of shrooms and drink at the same time after doing a mix all morning. And I was like, we're finally coming out of it. I was like, I'm gonna go get some pizza. And I was being a dick. I was making them slowly eat mushrooms to the point where it was rising vibe but never fully there, which is just, it's like blue ball central, it's pretty mean. But so they were both hilariously hating me. But Mike left and I went to go get some pizzas. I was like, I'll stop by the farm. It's right down the road. And I go in and we were having trick problems at the time, and I'm still kind of little out there, and I just see little green spots everywhere. I just had a mental breakdown. I was like, I gotta leave. I gotta go get these pizzas. So I left. I go to Shaw's. I'm sure you don't even know what the fuck Shaw's is, right? Yeah. We were talking about this later. But I go to the grocery store and I get a bunch of pizzas, and I'm standing in the self-checkout lane. And I set the pizza boxes down and I go, oh, fuck, I didn't close any of the fruit room doors. So I drive all the way back to the farm. And this is your brain on drugs, right? Yeah. Perfect commercial for how it actually works. And all the doors are closed. The lights are off. Everything's fine. I'd never even gone into a fucking fruiting room. So I go back to the grocery store, I get the pizzas, and I go home. It was just the worst, weirdest experience of why you never mix psychedelic mushrooms with grown gourmet mushrooms. I haven't done them since. So.
I can just imagine walking into a fruiting chamber and it multiplying before your eyes, all the contamination. Oh my god.
Yeah. And when it's trick and you see it, you're your eyes getting closer to the bag, and you're like, is that trichoderma?
Yeah, it's is that actually there?
Yeah. The only thing worse is neurospora, but it's a whole different thing. I've never seen that under the influence of any substance, so I don't want to. I feel like I'd have to kill myself.
It's like that one time we got a bunch of blocks from Josh, and he had used orange tape. To tape the bags
so
down.
Mean.
We pull him off the truck, and we're like, Jesus Christ, Josh!
We were immediately
every single one. But they ended up all being perfect. So
it's so funny, man. Yeah. Those are the times too that trick you out, and then you're like, they're great, Yeah, they'll keep you on your guard, man. I don't believe in a lot of weird, spacey shit, but I do believe mushrooms just fucking with people.
Yeah.
You try and put them in environments they don't want to be in, and they're like,
yeah.
You're like, all right.
I'm planning this new tattoo. It's going to say death, taxes, trichoderma.
There you go. Yeah, it's true.
3 things you can always rely on in life.
Trichoderma should be crossed out, and then neurospora should be just scraped under it, a nice orange.
An orange.
Yeah.
Fluffy orange.
Oh, dude, you should get that. That's a solid tattoo. Are you covered in tattoos? You have tons?
My whole left arm, and then my right leg is getting pretty full.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
I give up. I'm I'll ride a motorcycle like a bat out of hell and not worry about dying, but I hate getting tattooed.
Really?
I'm such a fucking baby. I'm like, stop sticking needles in my arm. I can't handle the pain.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah, how extensive is your work?
Mine, not that it's like all, like kind of, small stuff or jailhousey stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. It's not, it's just fun, celery, old school tattoos. I don't think I've paid for many, like I usually just have, I used to do sign painting. So like you just tattoo artists and sign painting go hand in hand. You're like, I made you a sign. And they're like, want a tattoo? And I have no money. I spent it all. I'm like, all right, sounds good to me.
Trade art for art.
Yeah, his art aspect, like, yeah, exactly. Charles is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the anti-marketing campaign of Cap and Stem prior to any of this was like provability. It was like, if we put our t-shirts on Charles Manson, nobody will give a fuck. And truthfully, like they didn't, because nobody was looking.
Or they're going to think you are actually Charles Manson.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just to explain, I've been talking to Eric for months, maybe over a year now.
Yeah, probably.
Like that. Yeah. And I thought the entire time that he was the one in his profile picture on Facebook who was Charles Manson.
Just wearing a Cap and Stem shirt.
Yeah, talking to Eric over
to be
the phone.
fair, he was like young then. Yeah. He looked almost better than I do. Maybe a few less wrinkles.
And then I pull up your Instagram and I'm like, okay, this guy who looks like Charles Manson has a red-headed, red-bearded best friend that he takes pictures of a lot.
That's the dude. Yeah. We just call him the dude. Oh, it's funny, man. That's like even using the Sabbath logos and stuff. Like we'll have people who are like, I get it. Like we had I think it was the FedEx guy or somebody picking up like an LTL truck was like, I just want to tell you, I get the reference to the Masters of Reality, but I really thought you'd be more of like a Fleetwood Mac crowd. And we were like, what the fuck? And then in the background, I was like, wait, there was this one time Tyler said we should make a Fleetwood Mac t-shirt. So maybe he's not wrong. I don't know, man. Yeah.
Do it. V2.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who isn't a Fleetwood Mac person?
Right.
I guess so. I guess everybody is now that TikTok video went viral.
Yeah. So you do know something about TikTok?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I scroll. Scroll.
You scroll.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to look at it and not be annoyed by it because both
turn the sound off.
Yeah. That's all I hear.
And squint.
My girlfriend's kid Tyler will just like he'll be like, it'll just be blasting out the same shit on repeat and she's like, turn it down. Like immediately every time. So that's my exposure to TikTok is like it's loud and annoying.
I think Tyler just got himself a job.
He might have. He did. He created a main Cap and Stem TikTok to give himself a follower.
Nice.
I was like, good for you, man. I was like, I tried to convince him to do TikTok dances like in incubation just because it would be hilarious.
That would be really funny.
Nobody would have any idea what the fuck was going on.
Where is he?
Yeah. Who is this? Is this the same company? It looks like it. I don't know. It's not Charles Manson.
Yeah. I've been struggling with how to translate content into TikTok form for Nearby Naturals.
Oh, that's
I'm not gonna dance.
That platform just like straight up makes me feel like a troglodyte. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand the format. I don't understand how people sync their words to the song so perfectly. Like, what's going on? What's the secret?
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah,
these kids are scaring me.
They are, but it's like we're saying. Like, how do you pretend to advertise to an 11-year-old turning 15-year-old turning 18-year-old?
Yeah, it's like, hey, fellow kids. Like,
yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, I feel like anybody. It's just like parents, our generation's popping onto Facebook. No, we don't use Facebook. It's the same thing with Instagram. It's like making its waves, but trying to follow that and like plan accordingly for sales. Yeah, I haven't thought about it until today.
Yeah.
And mentioning it, I was like, oh my God.
It's definitely something that Soraya and I have signed up to do.
Yeah.
So we got to do it.
You got to find somebody here to just do TikTok dances with mushrooms.
We'll probably end up having a lot of fun with it, to be honest. Once we get into it, I'm sure it's going to be a great time. I'm just
you got to share them to Instagram because I'll never download TikTok.
Yeah, I'll send them to you directly.
Yes. Yeah. That's the best. That's like getting the like fresh mushroom photos from like customers, Yeah. Some people send me weird mushroom shit, like because I love the mushroom lore and all that weird stuff. They'll send me that and I'm like 3 a.m. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll stay awake and read this. This is fantastic. Yeah, thank you. But I don't know if you've had that same reaction from like family and friends the minute you start a mushroom anything. all they give you are gifts surrounded by mushroomish things.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shirts with mushrooms on them.
Shirts with
Yeah,
mushrooms on them.
books, like all kinds of little like cookbooks with
Yeah.
mushrooms, like everything.
And then people just drop links on your Facebook
Yeah.
page of anything having to do with Paul Stamets.
Yeah. This dude's saving the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting with the bees.
Starting with the bees.
Yes.
By letting them eat his face. Yeah.
Did you know that button mushrooms are poisonous?
Did you know? Carcinogenic.
Mushroom mafia.
Yeah. I hope he calls me out if this podcast makes it anywhere past this fucking room. I really hope.
Hey, I'm
hope
going to
he
go
does.
home and listen to it 10 times. So
Yeah, there you go. That's how you know you're stroking your own ego. You're like, oh man, I sound good. Yeah, man. Was from like the artistic standpoint too, and granted, you know, these anti-marketing techniques that I call them techniques. It's just me half baked, laughing at Photoshop at 3 a.m. in my fucking underwear. But like from the artistic standpoint, it's interesting. Like you're laughing it off in this one direction, but like, are you funky enough to grow mushrooms? Is simple enough, but like it takes somebody to be like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I should run with it. You know?
we had a few comments on that ad. People saying, "Funky, what a poor choice of words." Like this ad is really stupid.
No way.
It was
Did you
like-
keep those on there?
Yeah, I
Did you
kept
do-
those
oh,
on there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the one that was the lady was like, these people are druggies and this company is run by druggies.
Yeah, don't give your money to these druggies.
Like,
That's
don't fund their
amazing.
drug problem. It's like, that's really funny.
That's so good. I know Northport had that issue. We had a dude named Rick Tibbetts, so I'll call him out. And he was like the mushroom dude. You know, before there were mushroom farms and lots of mini ones, you just went, you told people you had mushroom farms. You would tell them I have these farms down in Pennsylvania. And you would just go buy mushrooms and bring them up and, you know, fish around Portland and sell. And he had, truthfully, like great clients, you know, from Eventide and Hugo's and all those cats.
Yeah.
Because he was the only guy, and they're oddly loyal to this guy. And he called Native Maine, which is basically like a produce distribution company that I used to drive trucks for. And he was like, "I'm here to tell you about the Northport Mushroom Company. They're tied in with the outlaw motorcycle clubs, and this is verbatim." And they're up to no good. They're dealing with drugs. They're dealing with hookers. He literally, hookers. Yeah, you guys don't have much of the accent down there, but this guy is straight from fucking Boston, Ken. And yeah, so he left this whole message, and the dude who was working there, I'm pretty sure I used to work with him, just sent him the audio file so they have it. So they made like a Northport, I guess maybe. I think it probably just said Northport, but it was like Mushroom Gang. It's like, just like called them out and made some fucking product and then sold it. I was like, this is genius.
That's amazing. So it's like using like the negative marketing as like
like Liquid Death. Have
You
seen
mo-
that?
oh yeah.
shit's funny.
Or it's like,
It's
this
so
is
good.
so offensive, and they use that as their ad.
Yeah. I mean, we're at that point too, like advertising wise, like it is everything and it's nothing at all at the same time. And you can only, people are like taking old comedy that's now offensive to the modern human and just making it offensive, but marketing with offensiveness,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's great, you know? And it's
is.
truthfully, it works.
Yeah.
And
And
somehow they're less offended.
exactly. It just kind of like gives the whole thing like a more casual vibe than the whole like uptight, like, you know, like,
These
this
are
is
our
how it's
products.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally true. And that's probably why everybody tries to fruit mushrooms differently, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The funniest ones have just been when people like try to overdo it and create these environments for fruiting that like an alien wouldn't even try. You're like, what in the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
Like
Too much airflow, too much air turbulence, and like
you have explicit instructions to cut a line in the bag, and you say,
oh, you mean home fruiters? Okay,
home
gotcha.
fruiters, yeah. And it's been with some commercial people who are just starting out, and it's amazing. People don't like asking questions now. Like it's like you're not considered cool if you ask how the fuck to do something. And they'll like take a whole oyster block out of a bag and like and mush it up or something, and then they'll put it in a different bag and they'll be like, "This is what you're supposed to do." And you're like, What in the fuck? Who dropped you on your head?
Nobody even got close to telling you that's how to do it.
Yeah,
No, and I can't figure out where they're coming from either.
Yeah.
And then they're like, so I filled the bag with orange juice. You're like, I don't.
So I marinated it for 24 hours.
There's literally some people that I read their emails and their customer service things. I'm like, oh my God, I literally have to get up, go smoke a bowl and come back to it to answer it. It's just like, I have
you have
no
to zen
idea.
yourself out. Yeah, it's true. And it's not to like, it's funny. Like when I worked at Trader Joe's, I was doing sign painting for them, which is really funny. Every Trader Joe's has 2 sign painters in the back that just eat all of the things they're making signs for. So I got super fat when I was there. It was fucking awesome. I just get cookies. I'd be like, "Oh, you need another sign for cookies." So I'd make another sign. But no matter how many signs you put up, and there's a million of them in Trader Joe's, people are like, "How much is that?" And you're like, "There's 3 signs that say $3.99." You know, like just look at the fucking sign.
Like when people comment right below the shop now.
Yeah.
They say, "Where can I buy these?"
Yeah. Are these on your website?
Yeah.
Oh, there was somebody who sent me an email the other day that said, "What is this site?"
What is the site?
It's like you had to scroll all the way to the bottom of the site to even find the help email. I really don't know how to answer that question.
That's got to be like a bot. You don't think that's like a bot of some sort?
Maybe it's our competition trying to waste our time.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. That was me.
It's back to the roots.
Just fucking with
it has to be back to the roots.
Yeah.
It's like reading different emails.
Is back to the roots still a thing?
Oh yeah, they're very much a thing. They're doing the like the blue oyster mostly, and I see them selling pink oyster ones too. But I think the blue oyster is their main like Home Depot one.
That's their thing. Oh right, it's in Home Depot.
Yeah.
I forget.
And I'm honestly not sure. They got pretty good shelf life on those things.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing that. That's a little crazy.
Well, I think the shelf life comes down to like
strain.
Yeah, well, it's strain, but it's also nutrient. You get less than a third of or quarter of a pound off of those blocks, right?
Yeah.
They're small. That's totally rational. Like on the level of kits to people who don't care about counting the pounds that they've actually generated off of a block.
Yeah,
so
it's a novelty kit.
It's like
it's a total novelty kit. Yeah. For us, and this is the weirdest thing when it comes to like talking to people who are investors or bankers or whatever, is they're like, so a company approaches you and says, "We want to use your blocks for mushrooms," and we're like, "No." A farm is like, "I kind of want to fruit some mushrooms. How do I do it?" And we're like, "Okay." And then we show them how, and like that's how it goes. Or they research it, or they watch the YouTube videos, or whatever it is, and it's an interesting thing to create your own customers, Whereas like that's not. I don't think the back to the roots people are going towards nearby natural kits.
No, it's almost it's a totally different product.
Yeah. It's just like a different kind of like category of people, or it's like the back to the roots kit. It's almost like the experience, just like the
because they sell like microgreen kits and stuff like that. It's kind of just like a like a micro farm company.
Yeah, what they do is really cool. I like that whole little like miniature tabletop model.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's marketed more toward kids, I think.
Yeah,
is how it seems.
Yeah,
I mean, not that our marketing isn't super childish and playful and ridiculous.
Yeah, but there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Back to the roots, like since their inception, and I remember when they first like popped onto the scene, just because I've been in this that fucking long, I think. It was interesting because everybody thought about
10
it.
years ago.
Yeah, but they also started the stupid coffee ground thing, and everybody still assumes that they're just fruiting coffee grounds. And you're like, there's not enough coffee grounds in the fucking world. No, those blocks are being made in PA and just packaged and shipped out. It's all white labeled.
It is.
Which is cool. It's on its own level, but the shelf life really goes to like the nutrient content in there. If there's like low nitrogen, those things will last forever, and they just won't fruit until you give them some air, and then they kind of fruit by accident.
And they tell you to soak them too to activate them.
Yeah, so I bet this is like the shiitake thing, right? So one of the interesting things about that substrate in general is you can put a lot of water in it. But at the same time, if you incubate it and sterilize it and go through the whole sort of process with these shiitake blocks, there's a point at which they won't grow if they don't have enough moisture in them. So we didn't realize it would be to our advantage, like kit-wise, to just say, just flood the bag with water. So that's also a form of shelf stability. I think it works way better with things like shiitakes over oysters, just because they're a slower organism. There's definitely enough moisture in there, but if it's even 5% off for shiitakes, they're just kind of like, they don't really want fruit.
And it's heartbreaking to find out 10 weeks later that they're not going to fruit. Yeah, the shiitake thing is unreal. Like the fact that was the first thing we started with, and it's the thing we're trying to ward off, but we can't really get away from because of the Chinese log thing it's astounding. It's always going to be like the king of the mushroom world in the States anyways. It's just the one people are most comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't even know how to eat a fucking lion's mane mushroom, but they certainly will eat a shiitake.
Yeah.
We're trying to teach them. But we're going to get a lot more into the cooking demos and stuff like that.
Sweet.
We just got a really nice camera and moved into a better apartment that has a
actually like photographable kitchen.
Yeah. So we're going to start doing a lot of demos and stuff. I mean, we're both really good cooks.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be fun. It's going to be really helpful for our customers as well, because we get a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
And now that I have the mushroom, what do I do with it? I'm like,
Right.
I'm like, literally put salt on it and get it hot, and it'll be tasty.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Enough butter and salt and garlic, and you're like, this is fucking delicious. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how the flavor profiles do, like strain to strain, just like enhance any meal. And it sounds kitsch and stupid to say, but literally it doesn't matter. Like, just put a mushroom in a dish and you're like, this is fucking good.
Even desserts.
Yeah.
People are getting creative with that shit. I saw like, what was it?
Aside from like candy caps and stuff.
Yeah. Like a chestnut creme brulee. It's awesome.
That's so good. Yeah, it takes those creative minds, which I think is why so many of the mushroom farmers went right towards chefs. It wasn't because, they're like, this is the quickest way to sell mushrooms. They're like, I don't even know how to cook this. How are they going to cook it?
Yeah.
That's, we learned a lot from chefs when we were fruiting mushrooms, especially to sell at farmers markets. When we were doing that, it was like, cook it like so-and-so at 4th Street or whatever, and people are like, oh, really?
Yeah, we love seeing what or when we were fruiting and stuff, we love seeing what the chefs would come up with, like all the different dishes and all that stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah, and it really helped us gain new clientele as well, because we would post the dishes that these chefs were making, and then other chefs in the area would be like, oh shit, I want to make that too.
Right. Yeah, it ups your ante, and then it creates like that cool competition.
And then all the chefs in your area are competing over who can use Nearby Naturals mushrooms the best. And you're like, no, keep going. This is great.
Yeah, there's something to be in that like fungi weirdo, like in your town or your city, Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I've like really dug staying in the background now. People are like, oh yeah, like Christopher Ire will mention or Mark will mention like, oh yeah, we own a mushroom company, and they're like, oh, you're North Spore, and we're like, no. So it's like who advertises the most or who uses Charles Manson, pick and choose, I guess. But I'm okay with it. I just like elevating other companies, on a platform that keeps them going.
And at the same time, you're gaining notoriety within the industry.
Yeah, and people keep coming back to us. Like, if you really do need somebody to tell you don't need a humidistat, you should consider high pressure misting, which really doesn't take a fucking large compressor like everybody says, and a ppm meter is the only piece of equipment you should really buy. Then that's it. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How do you not get that? So the faster you say it, the less people get it. But at the same time, it's learning how to like maneuver around those conversations where people have just read, Growing Gourmet Medicinal Mushrooms, and they're like, so I need a sterilizer. And you're like, for what? Just buy a fucking block. So
we should petition for a banning of books.
Yeah, should.
Certain books.
They're coming after. Yeah.
Let's start like a mushroom fascist movement.
Yeah. We gotta start making like physical brochures that are stapled and like. That's like the radical mycology book, Peter McCoy's like first thing was, I remember seeing that in Amsterdam. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I like pulled it out of this like anarcho bookstore, high as shit on acid. And I was like, oh my God, I never heard of radical mycology at all, but that came out like late 90s, Yeah. So
we have a copy that we haven't dug into barely at all. But
I think
you got the big one?
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the first one that came out. It was like this
it was like a zine.
8-page zine.
Yeah.
Oh, it was cool as shit.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I should dig it up. All my stuff's like scattered around, but yeah, it's pretty rad. It's just this like gnarly little brochure book. But I would dig people making more of that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't have much more. I could talk about this stuff all night, but
same. We probably will continue talking.
Yeah, probably.
Turn off the microphone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a lot easier to like think without a microphone on or have a natural conversation. Yeah. It's like a beta of jumping into these. I've done like a couple quasi interviews with people, and you're like,
who'd you talk to before?
Oh, just friends and family. You know, like literally. Yeah, you guys are the first farm.
Cool.
Because it doesn't really make sense to schedule them and kind of put them out there until you have it all set up. And truthfully, the COVID thing is trying to figure out like how to zoom people into this like fucking little board.
Yeah.
Fred knows how to do it. I don't get it.
Who knows? We might listen to this after and be like, no, we're not posting.
Or like it didn't record. Like, oh shit. At least we had the conversation. Yeah. No, that was the first thing I was fearful of. I was like, what if it doesn't record? And like, that's why we got this board, because we're like, okay, it stores on a file and then it stores on here or whatever. So I still could be using it wrong, but who cares? Yeah, I mean, I guess the last interesting question that I have for you guys is really like, what What level of that marketing side do you enjoy the most? Is it just like, having the camera and having a setup and like doing the time lapse stuff? Or is that mostly you and not you? Or combination?
We had a photographer do a big round of photos and videos, which we've just been kind of like, cutting and moving into new content.
Yeah.
Over the past couple months. I mean, I guess I enjoy the content creation. But really, I just enjoy getting it out there and seeing what people say about it.
Yeah, it's the response.
Yeah. And people are either like, ew, or, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. And of course, we go for the, oh my God, this is amazing, and comment, it sure is. Let me tell you more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess for me, it's just getting it out there and showing people that you can do this stuff. Yeah. And it's super, super easy to do it at home.
Yeah.
If you are buying kits. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, it's just like watching people like get excited about it and, like share it with other people. And just like, oh, I want to try it. It's like, do it, try it, like grow something, like grow anything, like not even necessarily our product, just like grow something. And like
it stimulates like a version of a mind that isn't very saturated with hands-on exploration anymore, unless it's like with two thumbs and on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's super rad to see something happen fast enough for like that short attention span, but slow enough that you're like, this is fucking cool.
Slightly faster than paint drying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially in Florida. Yeah. I never painted a house in Florida, but I wouldn't want to do it.
It's like a week later. It's like, I still got a little on me.
Now, can anybody use oil paint down there? It just stays wet. Fuck. My house looks like a rainbow. That's wild, man. Well, I will never move down to Florida, and I will never take over a business like you guys are doing. So thanks for doing what you're doing. It's pretty rad.
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for the very first episode of the MycoWizards podcast, brought to you by Maine Cap and Stem Mushroom Company. Head on over to nearbynaturalsfl.com and support Sam and Sarai by buying a kit or two. If you're interested in hearing more interviews with mycological entrepreneurs from around the world, head on over to capandstem.com/podcast and follow the links for more episodes to come.